Welcome, everybody. My name is Paul Dolsky, and joining me is Tristin Knott and Tessa Baker. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Greetings.
So we haven't done one of these in a while, so I hope our obnoxious, sexy, hot voices just don't smother you in a pillow fight too long. Anyway, so what I'm trying to get at this is the face hugger. You know, everybody likes the face hugger and everything else. So, and that being said, we're talking about the new Alien movie called Alien Romulus, directed by the Evil Dead and Don't Breathe director Fed Alvarez. And if I pronounced that wrong, then I apologize already because I failed miserably. But anyway, since this is completely like ass backwards and I haven't done this in a very long time, yeah, enjoy the conversation, I guess. So anyway, let's start this off with the fact that this was released on the August of 16th of 2024. And for those that had a chance, they were able to see this film a day early, so August 15th, if you were able to see the early screening of it, which we did not get a chance to do. So we saw it 2 days later, and here we are talking about it finally, I guess. So I guess let's dive into the little synopsis that we have right now. While scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. And this film, Alien Romulus, is supposed to be taking place between the original Alien and Alien, while trying to answer the questions for us from the last two previous films from Ridley Scott, which is Prometheus and Alien Covenant. So anyway, I guess we're starting with, well, Tristin. So Tristin, you kind of, you wanted to talk about this for a minute. So, I mean, start us off a little bit. So what did you think of the opening beginning with Rain, Andy, Borns, I think? Well, I might be getting a little bit too ahead of myself because, as we all sort of know, Rain is trying to get out of Wayland Yutani because she had the appropriate amount of hours served or something like that to get out. But what ends up happening, Tristin?
So they, as my memory recollects, is that after she finds out that she has enough hours to leave, they come across in a spaceship. And when they enter the spaceship, it was the spaceship that's at the end of Covenant that has David on it and everything. You don't remember that?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if are you sure that's the same ship? Because, I'm pretty sure we're thinking of the other ship, the one that, Sigourney Weaver was on, or Ellen Ripley is what I should say.
Well, I remember there's a scene when they get on the ship and the ship is like all in dismay. There's bodies everywhere. David's laying on the ground as an android and he freaks out.
The android on the ground was actually from the first Alien movie. That was with Rook.
Was it with Rook?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to find it again, but I swear to God that was David on the ground, and then Rook came in later on. Might be wrong. I can be wrong, but it pretty much leaves it off to where, like, the timeline is kind of screwy at that point. Because it goes from Alien to Aliens, but then we have this one, Alien Romulus, that's right in between them. It should have been Alien Romulus. Romulus. You get what I'm saying?
This is actually taking place before Aliens, though, because of the year that it's taken place. So
Yeah, that's what I mean. So from the first Alien to the second Alien, in between, Alien Romulus is in between both of those, right?
yes.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying is like that's how the timeline should have went. But now we have this one and it just kind of throws everything off unless they're trying to reboot it again.
This is, well, I guess I might be getting confused of what you're saying. So, like, are you saying like because of this alien Romulus, you're getting confused with the timeline because
Yeah.
of it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically, if you so I sent Tessa this as well. So if you wanted to watch it in order, you would start with Prometheus, then you would go with Alien Covenant, then you'd go Alien, the original one, and then you'd go Alien Romulus, and then you would go Alien.
Okay. All right. Because the reason I say that is because I started watching it from Alien and then watched all the way up through Alien Romulus. And then that's when I just got thrown off. Even right when Alien 3, when they copy or clone Ripley, that's when it got weird. Or
You're
no,
talking Resurrection, then.
Resurrection. Yeah, when it started getting into that, that's when it started getting weird.
Yeah, so
So what is so? Not to interrupt, but it says in chronological order, it goes Alien versus Predator,
oh right.
Alien versus Predator Requiem, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, Alien, Alien Romulus, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection.
Yeah, I just forgot the Alien versus Predator.
And then we were getting the new series coming out for it too.
Alien Earth, yes.
Yeah. So did they explain when that is going to be taking place in the timeline?
Supposedly, this is taking place right after Alien Romulus, so in the same time frame
Okay.
of Alien Romulus into Aliens, I guess. So, I mean, so you got a little bit right, Tristin, but you got to remember. So before that spaceship where they all go into the spaceship, basically Ring gets told that their hours got bumped up now. So, and she purposely did that, like they didn't want to let her go, so they like jacked up her hours of what she needs to meet now, right then and there. So it basically shows how horrible and evil Weyland-Yutani is, especially when you met the criteria hours just to get out. And then they're like, we're gonna give you add like another 500 hours or whatever the hell it was. But so right then and there, it basically shows just how evil that company really is.
Yeah, I watched it, but there was a lot of distractions, so I missed some of it. But my biggest question for both of you is, what was your like favorite part out of it? Like my favorite part was like when they were going through the hallway and all the bodies were up on the wall.
Oh, like the cocooning.
Yeah.
Talking about the hive.
Yeah, the hive.
Yeah. The hive was pretty cool.
Especially with the practical effects that they put into it.
Yes. That would probably be like one of the favorite things about this movie is all the practical effects. Even the face huggers, they were all remote controlled. The alien was a man in a suit for once. It's instead of like
a
Alien
really
Covenant.
tall basketball player.
Mm.
No, you're getting it confused.
No, that's with the other creature that looks like a engineer.
The offspring, as they call it.
The offspring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was
Yes.
pretty cool to find out. Paul
Mhm.
actually showed me that, and I was like,
Yeah, the
oh no
guy's super
shit.
tall. The guy
Yeah.
is like super tall, and his body frame was just perfect for the role.
Oh yes. But
Speaking of speaking of practical effects, though, can we also appreciate the cocooning thing for the xenomorph
where
that
Yes.
we
was on
actually
the
see the
ship?
life form
Yep.
of the
Yep.
evolving of like the alien,
Yeah, the
where we
xenomorph. Yeah.
um. Cause what was the I know I'm skipping ahead now, but what was the shit? I'm trying to remember her. Was it Navarro that ended up getting the face hugger?
Yeah.
Where she used that
The X-ray machine.
yes, where we could
Yeah.
actually see like through her skin and bones and stuff like
That
that.
was pretty freaking cool to see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it gave me chills at the same time. I'm like, oh man, could you just imagine?
Like being able to see that, like
Yeah,
knowing, like right at
knowing that.
the yeah, and like we got to see that too right before it burst out too. So I'm pretty sure it was slamming against her rib cage as she was
Oh yeah,
using the X-ray too. So yeah, that just makes it even more quote terrifying. But to go back to the Hive for a minute, I just want to say what I liked about the Hive, besides the practical effect look of it, is that whole Hive part reminded me afterward, once I was able to sit on the film for a couple days, it made me realize like Alien Isolation with the high part in that game. That's basically what it felt like. Minus some of the cocoon, but then again, like I think there would may have had a few cocoons in that game, but there wasn't a lot because it was mainly just infested with the eggs that I'm surprised the hive didn't really have. Cause, but then again, we didn't have a queen in this one either. But we did, I believe, have what people are still classifying him, the alien, the xenomorph, as Big Chop or Champ, whatever. Um, it was him basically from the original Alien, which kind of makes me go, well, how did he get back onto the ship then if that's supposed to be the same ship that Sigourney Weaver, aka Ellen Ripley, is in cryo sleep on?
Well,
So how?
that's why I said I was confused, because that part didn't make any sense to me either.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. That's why, like, because I feel like in the first Alien, wasn't that with the air shaft or whatever, where they knocked the alien out too? Kind
Yes.
of like all the infamous fucking movies at this point, where that's all they use now is the some sort of air shaft or loading dock or something. But they need to seriously just figure out a different way of how to get rid of the xenomorph besides just that. That's kind of getting annoying at this point in time. We've seen it with the first Alien. We've seen it with Alien Covenant. We've now seen it with this sort of, but with like an offspring aspect and everything else. So yeah, it kind of sucks with that, but yeah, it would be great to see something different. And for everybody that may be listening right now, we just had another guest join us by the name Ken R2s. Welcome, Ken. All right. Well, I guess while we wait for Ken to get his mic situated, I guess. Um, so Tessa, I know how you know how I feel about this whole part while we're waiting for Ken, and that is the face hugger scenes, like the focus of the face huggers. What in your own opinion, what did you think about that? Like the face huggers.
I love the fact that they focused a lot more on the face huggers in this movie because I honestly feel like they don't get enough recognition in the franchises because like they may be small, but they are a very like powerful force. And the fact that like the first time that we see them is in a sealed room that you can't get out of, and there's like a couple of inches of water on the floor, enough that you can't see them.
Right.
And it's just, it's so freaking unnerving, but so cool at the same time, because it's like, holy shit. If it were me in that situation, I would make sure that I had something to hit them with, and that my back is up against something solid, and there's only one way that I need to worry about looking.
Well, they did have something to hit him with. I'm just trying to remember. It was like a pipe or something that they found within the room or something. I know they had something though, because
When did the stun baton thing come in? I'm trying to remember. Was that before or after?
I think that was before.
Yeah, so maybe one of them had a stun baton.
Yes, that's what it was. It was the stun baton. I'm just, it was born.
I think my favorite face hugger scene though is where they have to keep their body temperatures down low enough to not be detected by them, and walk through an entire corridor full of them and keep their stress level down and everything, and you can just see them crawling all over the frickin' place. It is just insane. And then when they actually alert them, they're running away from a sea of them.
All right. Well, Tristin, what about you? What about the face hugger scene? Where the focus of the face huggers? Is there anything to add on to what Tessa was saying, or was there like a favorite part from the face hugger scene that you enjoyed?
You know, I liked the part, all of it with the face huggers, because like Tessa said, they mainly focused on the face huggers, and that's what I liked about it a lot, because they are a force to be reckoned with, and people don't understand how powerful these creatures are really. But what also intrigued me was the first concept art that I saw of these face huggers on how they latch onto your face. They were originally supposed to embed their legs right into your skin underneath everything. It was supposed to embed all the way through them and attach right to the skull. And I wish they kind of did that with them to give it more of a horror aspect. But all in all, I really enjoyed what they did with them, especially the practical effects they used instead of the CGI that we have been seeing for the past few years, for quite a while, since Alien versus Predator.
I think some of Alien versus Predator was practical, but not all of it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, this seemed like all of it was.
I mean, it's.
But that could be just the way they CGI'd them in to make them look real.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the face huggers were all practical effects. They were all remote controlled.
Yeah.
So there was no CGI with those at all.
That's what I mean.
So I know we talked about this a long time ago. Tessa and I did. I'll just say it again just in case I didn't say it on that podcast, because I don't remember anymore, because it was been 2017 for Alien Covenant, I think it was. But anyway, so in case everybody needs a refresher, especially in the conversation right here, but when Alien Covenant was first being done, they actually did make an xenomorph suit or suits, but they never goddamn used them. So they basically had them done, but they never used them. So it was just all CGI xenomorph throughout Alien Covenant, which no wonder why they kind of look weird, I guess. Not really scary and slimy, but yeah, it was just weird. But before Ken takes over for a minute, I just want to say one of the things that I liked about not only the focus of the face hugger, which I think we can all agree that yes, the face huggers need their own focus time too, because they are a force to be reckoned with, as Tristan said. Because if it's not just for the face huggers, I mean that would, especially with their I forget what they call it, like tongue or whatever, that goes down your throat to lay the eggs to begin with. I mean, we don't really.
It's not the tongue.
Yeah, I know, but I forget the technical wording that they use for the face hugger. But they basically use their thing to go down your throat, lay the egg, and then that's it, and then
reproduce.
Yeah. Reproduce. But I mean, like, I think I think that was one of the shots that I loved too, was when that face hugger was trying to get onto what's his face's face, and as he's trying to struggle with him, you can see that that reproducing object of body part of the face hugger is trying to get in his mouth, and you can just see him trying to take it out, like how long this thing really is. Especially when it comes to, the part with Navarez or whatever her name is, where she actually does get the face hugger. But one of the memorable parts that I wanted to at least get to, besides just that scene, is the whole look how strong the face huggers were. They busted through that door right before they, rip faces off, basically, is what I'm gonna just say. But yeah, that was fun. Andy is an interesting character too when it comes to that aspect. But anyway, I don't want to talk anymore because Ken, let's get you in the conversation. So we're right now talking about the face hugger scenes. What was did you like that scene, or were there any memorable scenes of the face huggers that you enjoyed? Talk to us.
For Alien Romulus, I gotta admit, the whole effects was amazing. He did not opt for CGI. He went and I think we need to verify, but I think he actually got the crew from the original Aliens to work on this film to keep everything authentic. Fede Alvarez, the director. Maybe we need to fact check that up, but I think I've seen that video that he got all the old school artists to get on this film project just so that everything could be up to par.
Do we happen to know the guy, like the original alien guy's name? Do we know?
The
guy that you're talking about, yeah.
The art and what do you call that? Prosthetics, special effects crew. Yeah. I think I saw YouTube on that. Somebody's fact checking.
Prosthetics artist is Laura Beckner. Was she the one? There's another one too. Andrea.
I got it.
She got it. Fact check.
Hang on. Let me see here. I just had it. Damn it.
Oh no, Dawn Part 2.
Alvarez brought in the original effects designers from Aliens to work on the puppeteering and creature effects for the film.
Look at that. And that's why this movie looks amazing. I was never excited for an Aliens movie before. No, this one in particular, yeah. The director, we all seen his work before. I knew he was going to come up with atmospherics, keep everything practical, which we all could agree that that's the best way to go in horror films. But to touch on the face huggers, they gave them new life in this movie. Like they had something here. They broke out of their little chambers. They were hunting their prey. We never seen that before. Never seen something like that before. It was either stealth or they were already on their face, but nothing like this, breaking through doors, and that really built up the suspense.
You must have also enjoyed the part that Tessa mentioned with the body heat, controlling the body heat and your stress levels when they were trying to quietly go through the room then.
Yes, we never seen that before. So this gives us a new perspective of how these creatures hunt and work. It was a good, interesting perspective. Very interesting.
It
Yes,
was
and
insane.
it was tense because
Especially like when they actually alert them and you see this whole sea of them chasing after them. I'm like,
yeah, this is the first time I've seen a horror movie. My palms were sweaty because I have to confess. I have to confess.
right?
I couldn't wait for the movie to come out, so I watched the bootleg version, and it was so good. I went to the movies to watch it even better. I watched it 4 times. It was a good movie.
It is a good movie. I mean, I've only seen it once, but after sitting on it for a couple days, I'm actually appreciating it a little bit more for some aspect of it. There's some questions still, but I mean that's about it.
Speaking of another thing that I thought was kind of cool, how did everybody feel about them bringing back Rook?
Honest opinion, that's
Honest,
the only thing that I did not like about the film. It looks so fake. They could have done a
yeah.
better job with his face. It looked too out of place. Everything looked real. His face looked like PlayStation 2 graphics.
Everybody that I've been reading about is always complaining about that part. That's the only thing they're really complaining about besides the Act 3 part as well, which yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I mean it's I mean I get what they're trying to do with Rook. They're trying to connect it with the first Alien, but I mean I don't know. Maybe we should have gotten like his face on like a computer screen. Maybe that would have been better for it to be more digital tie or yeah, like digital tied that way. Like not what we got, I guess, because. What was people complaining about? Like, not only is the facial structure weird, but
It was
like you
weird.
were saying, like the graphics of his face were just not right.
It wasn't, no. And if they did such a great job with the offspring, that was a real person inside that costume. They could have gotten someone resembling Rook in a way and then do a prosthetic on him, make it look more authentic. Yeah, but that was the only thing that stuck out as a sore thumb.
Robert, shit, what's his last? How do you pronounce his last name? Uh, Bobrovsky. Oh God, I already butchered it, but yeah, Robert, the basketball player. Yes.
Yeah,
I apologize for not butchering his last name
That's
already, but
insane that he's that tall.
oh yeah, and he pulled it off real well. So since we're kind of jumping into that real quick, so um, okay, so we before we mention the offspring, we should probably step back and realize like without that offspring being there, it wouldn't have been without the black goo. So once again, they bring back the black goo, and Ken or Tristan or Tessa. I didn't get a chance to watch the original Alien. So does anybody remember in the original Alien, especially with Rook, when he was mentioning the whole mission about the black goo? Did anybody remember was the black goo really part of the first movie? Because I don't remember that being part of it. The only
no,
way I remember that being part of it was, Prometheus and Alien Covenant because of David's story that we never really got to finish because of Ridley Scott. But that's because also Alien Covenant kind of bombed the franchise in a way, kind of killing it, as I may say. I mean, it's not horrible, but it definitely was bad. In the aspect of they kind of got a little bit too much shit that we didn't really need, and it kind of became garbage. With maybe one day I'll go into like a better Prometheus Alien Covenant thing to kind of really break it down more. But like the Black Goo, though, the Black Goo we've
Yeah,
seen him.
It's apparently something that is extracted from the xenomorph species. It's taken from them.
Okay, so I do not remember in the original Alien then them extracting a sample. I guess I'm gonna say in this case from
Because it wasn't part of the original mission in the original Alien. It was
So that part-
featured. It was featured in the Alien franchise in the films Prometheus and Romulus.
then that whole entire part is a big fat lie when with Rookden. When he's talking about the original mission, because then the original mission was never about the black goo.
Unless he never disclosed that information.
Tristan has a point.
True. Which we kind of did see that.
But also, we got to realize that all those androids that were made, there was other copies of them.
Of Rook.
Yeah.
They were trying to. Yeah, they were trying to. Yeah. It was something about another copy where he was trying to get his. What do I want to say? His personality uploaded into the system. I think is what it was. Kind of like what happened with Bishop. His copy was in the system, I think. Or it may not have been in the movies. It may not have been mentioned in the movies, but it was definitely mentioned in a book that had Bishop in it.
I got more about the black goo if you guys want to hear it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
The black goo is the root of the whole thing that was introduced in Prometheus, he explained. It's the root of all life, but also particularly xenomorphs come out of the thing, which means that it has to be inside them. It's pretty much xenomorph semen, in short, is what they're saying.
That's interesting.
Very.
I mean that does make sense with the offspring.
I'm fact checking over here.
Yes, you are. That's good though.
But I think doesn't Covenant explain where the black goo came from originally?
Yes and no.
Yes and no, but they also make it into like a spore type thing in Covenant. Because
Like
remember some of the remember how they stepped on some of the stuff on the ground and it released the spores.
Hmm.
And they
they got infected that way.
Yeah, kind of like where the backburster came into play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's where the xenomorph came from, with the backbursting part, I believe that was the xenomorph. But that was also, you got to remember too that spores. Well, I'm gonna say this, and I may be wrong. So if anybody even listening correct me, that's fine too. Or anybody here with this conversation knows a better answer than me, then that's fine too. Or we can go off of what I'm about to say too. But so my understanding, while I think it's actually got shown in the Alien Covenant with David, was when they first landed on that planet or something where the engineers were, that bioweapon that Ken just pointed out about the black goop aspect and the spores and that shit that Tessa was talking about, that was David testing it, because David was trying to experiment with the black goo of what it can and can't do and everything else.
Because according to what it says, he considered it a mysterious substance that can have different effects on different life forms. So he was experimenting on different life forms, trying to create the perfect organism.
So what he was technically trying to do was what predators do. They splice the DNA from the different DNA they collect, and then so pretty much when the xenomorph goes into the body of a different species, it pops out as that variant of that creature.
Right. It depends on the DNA and I'm gonna say the host as well.
Well, I
Because
also get like a hint of Resident Evil, like the T virus, because certain aspects of that virus, when it affects your DNA, it triggers certain defects and effects
right.
that mutate you to being that creature. But the one creature that they have not touched on, and it's the biggest creature out of the xenomorphs, is the king xenomorph. And I have not heard anything from this alien series about the king xenomorph, and I would like to see a king xenomorph.
The king xenomorph came from a comic. That's the only thing I remember right now. It did come from a comic or something.
So I read a little bit of background on it, and it's supposedly 10 times the size of the
queen.
female.
Yep.
And then it controls all the xenomorphs.
Hey guys, I just read something interesting. Just a minute, honey.
Concept within the Alien franchise, which revolves around the iconic xenomorph species. While not officially part of the canon in the main Alien films, the idea of a king xenomorph has appeared in extended media such as comics and video games. It is usually depicted as a male counterpart to the queen xenomorph, often portrayed as being even larger, stronger, and more intelligent. The king xenomorph...
Well, that's pretty much says it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see a king xenomorph, but man, I mean, that would have to be CGI, I think, because man, is it supposed to be 10 times more than a queen? I mean, I guess they could make a practical effect, but they would have to like zoom in onto the practical effect and make a prosthetic like practical prop and make it smaller for the queen then to kind of make it look like bigger, kind of like what Del Toro did with his Pinocchio, with that one aspect that he did. He made like a giant head of Pinocchio, and that's what they used for like the close-ups of his Pinocchio. So maybe if they did something like that, they could probably bring in the king xenomorph that way. But what was I trying to say though with the black goo aspect? That so David was trying to experiment, and as Tessa was bringing up, depending on the different life forms, something will be different about how it reacts to the different life forms. So I guess from here we can now bring in the offspring, which was Kay, if I remember correctly with the character's name. It was Kay who was pregnant, and Kay was the one that, well, injected herself with the black goo.
Yeah, because she was trying to save herself because she was dying and she was already pregnant with her own baby. But what she wasn't realizing is what effects the black goo could have on her baby.
Which mutated her child.
Creating the offspring.
Not just that, but what makes this scene even more interesting, if everybody had read anything into this even further, like I did. So Kay's pregnancy was actually because of her cousin, which was what's his face? The one that was trying to protect her, the one that was wanting Andy to open the fucking door, but Andy wouldn't. So
Tyler?
Yeah, Tyler. So Tyler pregnated Kay. So even though they're like family related, so that's where the pregnancy came in to play, I believe, it's from what I'm reading as well. And
I had the speculation that it was the other guy, because you see, when they were escaping their coal mining ship, and they were going back on board Romulus, the way he was caressing her and pushing her along, it had some of that personal feeling towards it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, then Born, I forget how you
Yeah,
pronounce
Bajorn, yeah.
Bjorn.
As
Yeah,
it turns out, the identity of Kay's baby in Alien Romulus means their child is a result of incest. It has
No
been
way.
confirmed. It has been confirmed that Bjorn is the father of Kay's baby.
Yes, I was correct.
yeah. Well, you said Tyler at first, so I didn't have it up in front of me to say yes or no. But I mean, I knew it was one of them. But yeah, um,
But
I
it's
didn't catch.
still a result of incest.
Yes, which kind of goes back to like The Hills Have Eyes, you know,
Ugh.
like that type of
Wrong
family
turn.
movies. Wrong Turn too. Yeah. So anyway, so we kind of had this type of weird shit going on, which I will say this is probably why, um, the Offspring looked like the way he was, which was why the reason why he was played by a real person. No offense to Robert, but I'm just trying to say, like look at the way the Offspring even was before it kind of like evolved per se, like when it was still a child ish before it grew up, even like if that makes any sense. But like you can kind of see the deformity result happen as the baby is like crawling away. We kind of do see a small little shot as as it was coming out of her, like from the bloodiness of the cryo sleep or whatever that Kay was in originally, that Rain put her in, because Rain was trying to be that, the main character, like, oh, get in here, we'll get you back so you can be safe and blah blah blah. And it's kind of like Prometheus all over again with what's her face, where she was pregnant because David wanted to know what the hell would happen with the black goo, and this is what happened. So in this case, the black goo kind of played an effect on that, I guess. So when we finally get the reveal of the Offspring, when we finally see the Offspring like crawling through the steam, the hot steam, I'm gonna say the steam fog, whatever the fuck you want to call it, steam at this point, I was kind of was just like, okay, this is interesting. Like I knew like this was gonna happen because Kay obviously had to do it because of the story, but like, just to kind of see the fact that it did look like an engineer, and then as it progressed, it was like trying to form into like that xenomorph slash, I guess, engineer thing or baby, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's still like me with a couple other people. I will say I don't really know if that part was really necessary, but it did, I guess, add the tense of the black goo again, of what else it's capable of, I guess. Um, I don't know. So Ken, we'll talk to you for a minute. So what did you think of this whole black goo Offspring stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I think Tristan brought up the Resident Evil correlation. It's interesting what direction they want to go with this, but you bring up a good point. Part one had nothing to do with this so-called mission, so it's a kind of loose. I guess what Fede Alvarez is trying to do is create a storyline based on that. Two, the act three with the baby, the offspring, we've seen that before. I would have preferred she would have mutated, the baby would have mutated into some type of uh different type of creature. Make it unique. See, he was doing good so far up to that point in act three. Aside from that, yeah, no complaints with that offspring.
Did
How I
anyone
built.
notice the structure of the offspring, like the facial structure? It kind of resembled the from Prometheus, the Titan, The what did they
engineer?
call? Yeah, the engineer.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So it makes me wonder if the colony that encountered this goo was experimenting with it too, to enhance their race.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, I know, because everybody's probably thinking.
I could see that. I was reading something earlier. You guys remember the engineer in Prometheus that drinks the black goo and then falls into the waterfall
Yes.
and stuff?
Yes, right at the very beginning.
Apparently, that's supposed to be symbolic of him creating the human race by drinking that and having his body break down and split apart, and the black goo and his body matter merging with the water supposedly creates human life from it. I don't know, it's weird. I was reading it. That's why I was making a weird face earlier.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've even seen Prometheus. So if that is true, then I kind of hope there was some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of phrase thing where it's like, hey, this is before life on Earth or some shit. I mean, I don't know. That's I guess would make sense considering like Tessa was mentioning earlier, black goo is supposed to be the symbol of life.
See, I just found it again. It says, in the Prometheus opening scene, meaning that engineer drinks the black goo, which tears apart their DNA. They throw themselves into the newly formed ocean of Earth, which gives birth to humanity. This is the creation of all life on Earth as well.
So how come we don't look all screwed up then? I guess because of
Because
that
I think
one.
the simple fact is that we're not incest.
That makes sense. I'm pretty sure they all were.
I mean,
Or
you're stuck on a spaceship for months on end. I mean, if you get lonely, I guess.
Or maybe we're supposed to be the version that's supposed to be more of like the perfect or
Well, now that we're starting to get this alien Earth, what kind of other variant xenomorphs are we going to see now that they're coming to Earth? You got to question that too. Are we going to get xenomorphs that fly? Are we going to get xenomorphs that are like really small that you can barely see? You know, from all the different things that these face huggers can latch onto and feed off of.
Well, we sort of seen what happened with a dog, Alien 3.
Yeah.
We have sort of seen that, but that will be interesting to see if a facehugger could get onto like an eagle or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get what you're trying to get at. That would make it more creepy as hell, I guess. But then would we be running into like oh man, I don't remember what they called them in Resident Evil 5, but those flying stupid insects.
We don't talk about it. We do not talk about it. It gives me PTSD.
Well, anyway, I do know that there's like some sort of flying insect thing in Resident Evil 5, so I guess that like what we could expect, or maybe, I don't know, something even worse, I guess.
What you're talking about is when they change into different creatures like that, they're called BOWs, bioweapons.
You know how in Prometheus, David came across the black goo and he was, he became very fascinated by it and interesting. And then we see him in Alien Covenant. He's discovered on that planet after a decade by that ship that he sent an SOS out to.
Right.
He was extensively studying it to turn it into a pathogen that would cleanse planets of unwanted botanical life forms. So you know how they stepped on those things on the planet and it released those spores? That was David perfecting it by trying it on various different things, on various different ways to release it, to get rid of the unwanted botanical life forms. Because he has such a strong disdain for humans and the engineers as well, that he wants to wipe them all out.
Right, because
So he was coming up with new and inventive ways of doing it, is what I'm saying. That's why we see the black goo in Prometheus, and then when we get to Covenant, we see the black spores, and
which
like
is what I brought up earlier, was
plant.
David experimenting with it. Yeah, but you put it into a better way of looking at it. Yes. So, God damn it! All right, I'm gonna have to look up her character's name now, because it's bothering me. Well, like what you were saying too, with
Are you
David,
talking
like,
about Elizabeth?
yeah,
Are you talking about
Elizabeth Shaw?
Yeah.
Yes, because David was always fascinated with Elizabeth until whatever happened, which we never got an answer for. We just know that
I
she
think
didn't
Covenant kind of explains a little bit of that, because he really, I think what intrigued him to her was her passion, her love for certain things, because he didn't understand it. Because all he's seen all throughout his android life is that it was all evil, all death, that people are just bad. But when it came to her, she was compassionate about everybody. She cared about her crew members. She cared about like her family, and he just didn't understand that, and that's why he was using the black goo, because he believed her emotions affected how the xenomorphs acted.
right, but
Yeah, David claims that she died in the crash on the engineer ship, but she was killed by David.
yeah, exactly. Which we sort of knew that because of her body that was on the table in Covenant. Her chest was literally open, like it was
Because
operated.
he thought that she was the perfect specimen to create the perfect organism out of.
Right,
Like I just said.
right. Yeah, which I think there was a theory about how Elizabeth Shaw is the reason why the xenomorph queen was born, or something like that. Which again makes no sense though, because
David killed Shaw after she refused to help David build a second Eden. He used her body in his research.
okay, I wonder if that's from like a book or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it makes me wonder where people are getting these answers sometimes. But yeah, as it might be a book, because they did do a lot of things like with the novelization, just in that, to kind of expand the stories and stuff like that. So okay, so the offspring, the black goo. So Ken, before you got here, one of the first things that we were talking about was the hive. What did you think about the whole hive part? Like,
In Romulus,
yes, in Romulus.
it seems generic. Uh, they work in concert just how they would in Aliens 2 or Aliens. They were they were set on their mission. They knew what they had to do. The only thing that doesn't I can't grasp is why that one alien in the elevator shaft saved the protagonist. That's the only thing that's kind of loose on me right now. But yeah, everything else is pretty generic, but not in a bad way though.
So my theory was the reason why the alien quote saved her from falling is because he didn't want her to get killed in a. He wanted the victory, kind of like with the Predator. Like he wanted to kill, kind of like with the Predator. It's like a worthy kill. It's a worthy trophy per se. Like when it comes to Predator, so maybe the alien were trying to save her because he wanted to claim her death per se.
I think it was something else. I think he wanted her alive so that he could have one of the face huggers impregnate her and take that back to the planet. I don't think he wanted her dead. I think he wanted her alive so he could use her body as a host.
But if that's the case, in the movie Romulus, we see the alien dragging carcasses to be used as hosts. So
Right,
where's
to be put them up on the cocoon thing on the hive. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
how does that lie?
because look what happened to Ellen Ripley. Look how she got used as a host. She was impregnated while she was on the ship. They kept her alive so that they could use her.
Right, because they were claiming again that Ripley would be the perfect host for a xenomorph queen or something like that. If memory serves me. So, but that is why at the end of Alien 3, she sacrificed herself because she did not want that to happen, even though Bishop wanted her to go with them or something like that.
It's
But
just
Ken,
a theory.
yeah, and I that's why we're all talking. So Ken, we kind of see that too with Alien versus Predator. Like we don't really necessarily see the alien drag the human though, but we do see at one point with like whatever happened when Alien versus Predator. Once again, these movies I haven't seen in a long time, so I can't really say what knocked them out at first. But something happened where like it was maybe a gas, some sort of gas got released. I think that might have actually been it because in Alien versus Predator, especially the first one, the Predators were in control of the aliens in the pyramid, and so at one point though, you got to see an Alien versus Predator, the what I'm gonna call the face hugger room, where it was nothing but face huggers, but you were seeing these people that were in the movie somehow wake up and they were already stuck on the walls of the hive, basically with the face hugger right in front of them, because the face hugger had to wake up, and then once the face hugger woke up and came out of the egg, of course it would latch on to that person's face because there would be no way for that person to do like what they were doing in Romulus to beat them up and like try to yank them off their faces, or in Andy's case, which we'll talk about that part in a minute too. We get to see like again how it's these aliens or whatever are smart because they almost know who to use and who not to use, because I think it was Bourne or Tyler in Romulus. Yeah, maybe it was Bourne, who got dragged up into the ceiling of the hive right before getting taken out by the xenomorph with the mouth, the little mouth per se. Almost saying like, yeah, like I almost felt like the alien knew like he was gonna be a bad host, and maybe like bringing out
Sensing.
the sensing and bringing into like what Tessa was trying to say with the whole like they wanted her to be like a host. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's why again they caught her somehow. She was trying to maybe knock her out, or maybe possibly try to be able to drag her to the hive so that way she could get stuck to the wall and become a host for one of the face huggers, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I had the impression that it saved her, just like you said, to save her to be a host, but there's something that they sensed about her that made her different. So I like to know if they had special plans for her, like if there was like another different xenomorph that would have bursted from her.
We'll never know.
That's a good theory.
We'll
And-
never know.
Perhaps you're right. These creatures do sense things, because Bjorn was kind of an annoying character, and for him to get killed that way because he antagonized the creature before it came out the cocoon, he's like, okay, you want to electroshock me? I'll put my tail up your face. On the other hand, with Tyler, he was more of a leader, and they whisked him away.
Right.
See, what I collected from the xenomorphs from watching all the movies and everything is that they run in a pack. So they run like velociraptors. They talk to one another. They pick and choose their prey.
I got your guys' answer of why the thing saved her.
Okay,
I'll
what did
spill
you
it.
find?
They're calling this particular xenomorph, they're nicknaming him Scorched. Scorched wanted Rain to receive a big hug. While Rain wiped out many of the creatures with a pulse rifle, by the time she falls down the elevator shaft, she is unharmed. So Scorched saw the potential to grab her and bring her back to the station's hive. So it was planning on using her as a host.
Seems logical.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Which so let me see here. Yeah, Scorch, and then there was another one. I don't know if they nicknamed him yet. I'm gonna have to look that one up. But yeah, Scorch, that makes sense. While this is fresh in my head, though, when it comes to Andy, so if anybody remembers Alien Covenant, with the whole doppelganger of Android there, when it comes to David and Walter, and then near the ending, we all know David obviously beat the shit out of Walter, like won the battle there that was going on, but we never understood why. And especially one thing that got brought up, which kind of makes sense to me later on, is how was David able to know the Covenant when it where particular things were of how the Covenant ran and this and that, even though the stupid crew members didn't catch on that, hey, Walter's supposed to heal us. He's a healer. David's not. So, well, again, that kind of falls into the whole, like, that crew did not know their android then. That Walter is the healing android, can heal. David cannot. But anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this up is Romulus actually answered that question for us with what happened to Andy. And that is with Rook at the time, when he was still on the ground, Rain went over to Rook, grabbed that microchip out of him, and actually put it onto Andy, which was in the facehugger room at the time. Right as that facehugger breakout happened. So from when that happened, Andy had to, I think Rain put it as a reboot, which right there is another Easter egg apparently to something. It's the eyeball when the eyes roll back with Andy. That's the Easter egg because it has like a serial number or something on his eye. Anyway, that's so that is that answered the Alien Covenant part between David and Walter of how David got to know the Covenant is because when Walter was defeated by David, David took Walter's chip and basically installed it himself, which again, I'm kind of trying to still figure that out because as he was upgrading, how was he able to do that? I guess because he had to put the chip in his neck and reboot basically. So I guess that's kind of. I mean, maybe he was quick about it. I don't know, but anyway, the point is that the answer we were looking for is that microchip basically. So because as we kind of saw with Andy was let's just admit it, he was a cowardly made android, but he was made for Rain to be his or her brother in a way, because of her family not being around and this and that. But we at least answered that because when Rook microchip was installed into Andy not only started to realize everything that happened within the original movie and learning everything that has happened prior between the facehuggers and the xenomorph, he kind of became like that nasty, like I don't want to say greedy, but he would like finally got the balls to basically look at his fellow crew that he would with and basically say like, look, this I can't do that because if we do that, it's like kind of like with Kay, the pregnant one. Even though the xenomorph used his tail on Kay at first to drag her up and bring her to the hive to be used as a host per se, probably because of the fact that she was pregnant. So that goes back to what we were talking about with the whole sensing. So they probably sensed the fact that she was pregnant. But that would have been interesting too. But so again, that xenomorph didn't kill Kay. He wanted her alive, which is why he stabbed her in a specific way to drag her up and basically carry her to the hive to place her to be ready for the facehugger to basically make her a host. So yeah, I mean, basically though, what I'm trying to say is that actually helps that part to be answered.
And I could see your analysis on how the characters were outlined. For me, for the screenplay, I think Rain, Andy, and I have to look up their names, and Tyler were the strongest characters there. The other ones seemed disposable. Like, what purpose did the pregnant chick have? What purpose did, aside from piloting the ship, Navarro had? They seem Navarro, Bajorn, they seem kind of like disposable.
Mm.
They serve no purpose to the story. If you really look at
Yeah, they were expendable.
Yeah.
Maybe that
it's
was
like,
the purpose of their role, just to be disposable.
Well,
But-
she was.
And
But if we-
the xenomorphs were fixated on the stronger characters, looking at them as more viable hosts.
So it technically, in the movie, it made them weak links.
right.
Yeah,
But if we look
essentially,
at the original film, every character had an integral part. No character was a loose, disposable character. Everyone had a purpose. But for here, we had three characters that they died. Okay, so what? But okay, whatever. Nothing wrong with that. Good
I
writing.
understand what Ken's saying. Like, these characters didn't have like a purpose in the story. They had no purpose whatsoever to what
they
was
basically
going on.
they basically fulfilled their purpose, and then they were expended.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we saw what was her name there, the one that got the face hugger at first.
Navarra got them there.
Navarro. So that was
Navarro
her
got
purpose.
her there.
Without her getting the face hugger on her face, we wouldn't have had the xenomorph anyway. So again, that goes back to what Ken was saying at the beginning of his with the whole cocoon. Which again, we haven't really seen that in a long time, which is the evolution of the the face hugger. We get the face hugger. We get to see the I'm just gonna say chest burster right now because whatever that first part of the xenomorph is that comes out of your chest. So basically, Navarro, that was the first death, I want to say. But yeah, that was her purpose. Without her getting the face hugged, getting the chest burst, we wouldn't have the xenomorph. Because obviously, as we all know, the xenomorph thing ran off, which makes no sense to me, especially with Rain being right there on the floor because of the impact that it did. Anyway, so then we see the cocoon, which is it Bourne's that had the stun rod then?
Right.
So we saw him meet up with Kay because Kay noticed the cocoon, I believe. And then when Bourne used the stun rod on the cocoon, we kind of saw that, which again, that was all practical effect. I loved it. I loved the cocoon of that aspect. And the fact that he met his death by acid because of the cocoon, because of him using the stun rod anyway. I mean, yeah. But from there, we got to see the xenomorph. What do I want to say? Hatch, I guess, from the cocoon, or at least come out of it. Yeah, evolve even more that way.
Right. But those characters could have been a little bit more because when Bjorn died, I'm like, okay, who gives a fuck?
Well, he was bullying Andy anyway.
Yeah,
they didn't really give us a chance to care about them. They weren't in the film long enough for us to give a shit. We're just like, oh well.
Exactly. And then Navarro, okay, the chest burster scene, it was great. You're like, okay, chest burst out of her. All right. We were more interested in Tyler, Rain, the android. I think he took the show. That guy, that actor is fantastic. Played
Andy.
dual characters. Amazing. But yeah. I think what they wanted, like what you said, Paul, they wanted to showcase the xenomorphs' different stages and use these disposable characters as a catalyst to showcase how they evolve, basically.
Now, is it me or are we seeing more xenomorphs show more emotion to their kills?
Elaborate.
So, like we were just talking about Scorn, that saved the girl for herself to bring her back to get hosted. Well, why? Like, what was what certain thing is making them pick and choose who they kill off and who they host?
Stronger, more viable hosts.
Because
Not
if we go from
links.
if we go from the original, everybody was pretty much well born in combat, so they were worthy opponents, I should say, and they killed them off as soon as they could because they knew that they would not be liable to like bring back to the hive because they were so challenging to like defeat. That's what I collected.
You guys remember the part where right before the elevator scene, before that what she did? She took a pulse rifle and took a bunch of them out and created an acid trail, and Scorch survived that and saw that. So
it petrified him.
And
it was also probably the way she fought. how she had that fighting spirit. She wasn't going to go down without a fight. So
That's what I mean.
when they make these xenomorphs, it is contracted from your emotions. So if you're a strong and well-built human being, you would be a great match to be a xenomorph.
Again, go back to Aliens, where Sigourney Weaver or Alan Ripley were pregnant.
Mhm.
And they were saying that she was impregnated with a xenomorph queen specimen, and that is why they wanted her alive.
Mhm.
You know
And
that
and
you know that, not to interrupt, but did you know that David used Elizabeth Shaw to create an alien queen using her?
Yeah,
Yeah, he used her to make her into an alien queen.
Because of her passion for other people.
Exactly. He tried to use it as a way of professing his love for her, that
yeah,
he loved her. And he's like, everything that I'm going to do and from here forward is
it's
an
all
act of
because of
love,
her.
and I need you to trust me, and blah blah blah. And apparently she agreed to it. But
Yeah,
then when he wanted to build a new Eden, she refused him, and that's when he killed her. And he was like, I'm just going to salvage your parts and use you anyway, type of thing. And he essentially made her into an alien queen.
And that's what brings us to the point of like them wanting to bioweaponize them.
hmm. Looking at Aliens 2, we see a different characteristic of the alien creatures when they start using the Marines as hosts. My speculation with Alien Romulus was these characters were young, teens, and if the aliens are supposed to replicate their hosts, it seems kind of awkward that you would choose young kids, because that's basically what they were, to become hosts. How would these aliens react with their DNA? And
Yeah, because it's all
we see that in
different.
the third act. They made foolish choices.
Unless they run in a pact of like a game of chess. You know, you have your pawns, you have your knights, and then you have your king and queen. So they might even have xenomorphs that they send in first that they know they're going to die.
the warriors
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
drones, because they're yeah, because they're drone warriors, spitters, which we've never seen in a movie yet, only video
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, so
Um,
if we think back to how when we were playing Horde mode and Aliens Fire Team, and how they were strategically sending their weakest first and then working up to their strongest, like the
yeah,
Crusher and the Warrior and all that.
They're expendable.
They use the expendable pawns
Mhm.
first and then build up to the strongest.
Because if
yeah,
this is supposed to, in Romulus, if this is supposed to kick off a new hive, a new brand of xenomorph hive, then they're starting from scratch. So, of course, they're going to build off of the strongest. And then those strongest are going to pick off all the weakest to build the biggest army they could get.
What the fuck was the
Makes
name
sense.
of that? What was the name of that big bad boy in Aliens Fire Team? Um,
oh, um,
the
yeah, the
the
Pandal something, Paul, the one that starts with a P, I think is what you think of.
yeah, he's got like the big,
Yeah, the big,
and he stands really tall. What the fuck was his name?
yeah, starts with a P. I always have trouble pronouncing that one, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, okay, so I guess from this point here, Ken, is there anything that you would like to talk about Romulus? Because I mean, I know we kind of went all over the place in different categories.
Predatorian.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because the way that they go is fodder, egg, face hugger, runner, veteran, burster, prowler, spitter, drone queen, elite warrior, eradicated spitter, crusher, and predatorian.
Yeah, those bastards. Yeah. So anyway, Ken, back to you for a minute. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to touch on?
For the film Prometheus in particular?
Romulus. Yeah. Like
Excuse me, Romulus. Why did I say Romulus?
Because Prometheus had been mentioned.
Because we've been bouncing all over the place in the whole Alien franchise universe.
Yeah. Well, we kind of have to because Romulus.
Because we're kind of connecting.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, yeah, you kind of have to because obviously Fede
Alvarez.
Yes, thank you. He was really trying to give us the answers and Easter eggs that we needed to see why Romulus is fitting in between the original Alien and Alien, while trying to answer what Ridley Scott did, which is what I mentioned earlier, but Ken was not here at the time, so I just wanted to throw that out again, especially for Ken to hear that. But yes, so that is probably why we were bouncing all over the place as well, Ken.
Well, I have a multi-part comment. Ridley Scott should just step aside and let Fede Alvarez take over from here.
Seriously, he did a great job on this film, and he should do one more sequel. That's it. Just one more.
Aside from that, part 2. I still don't see the connection on how Romulus connects with aliens. Trying to figure that out because it's set on a totally different planet. Am I right, or am I mistaken here?
The ship that they're on is actually the same ship that Ellen Ripley is on. So when they first got onto the ship to check out the what was it, the oil levels or whatever it was, where the cyber sweep shit was from the floor, she was in that, I'm pretty sure she was in that pod on the floor, like in the cryo suite, I think.
So,
or at least she was at least she was somewhere. I know she was on that ship though.
So what we've seen is a totally different timeline here, because with
Ellen Ripley does not appear in the movie Alien Romulus, but there are some Easter eggs that suggest her presence. The Narcissus shuttle. In the second trailer for Alien Romulus, the Narcissus shuttle can be seen drifting behind the Resistance station as it crashes into a planetary rings. This led some fans to speculate that the shuttle belonged to Ellen Ripley.
Yeah, because that would be the one that she would be asleep on right before Alien kicked off.
The shuttle taking off at the end of the film as the station is falling into the planet's rings. A shuttle can be seen taking off, leaving Ripley alive to be found by aliens. According to aliens, Ripley was in stasis aboard the Narcissus escape shuttle for 57 years after the events of Aliens, so she would still be floating around during the events of Alien Romulus.
Yes.
So it's two different timelines.
In a way, yeah.
So you have one timeline with Ripley being infected and another timeline with the black goo.
Right. Which is what I was saying earlier of why Rook was mentioning the Black Goo mission. Because Rook was in the original film, which that's why I was asking. The Black Goo was never mentioned in the original film, so how was that an original thing? But then Tristin said something that we kind of were like, well, yeah, that could be true. Maybe that was the mission that he didn't actually say.
Well, if we saw how Rook was on the ground, he wasn't cut up like he was in the first movie. He was
Well,
torn
right.
apart in the first movie, so that's what makes me think he's a doppelganger.
Right. Or if they emphasizing this chip storyline, probably they inserted the chip into another android and uploaded all that data.
Does anybody notice how when the chip was inserted into Andy, and after he had spoken to Rook, how he was sort of kind of acting like David? His whole demeanor shifted and he was acting like David.
Well, it's hard to tell with all those British accents.
Oh, I was getting an inkling of it. But yeah, I know what you mean with the British accents.
Like how many bad British villains do we need in films? Like, come on.
I don't know. Too many, I guess, at this point. Too many. But I mean, I guess to wrap things up, I can't think of anything else to say about Alien Romulus unless anybody else does. But so when I first got done with this movie, I walked out of the theater saying this is a 7.5 movie, just because it brings a nice text to the practical effects again. We finally saw another man in the suit, no CGI alien. We saw robotic, remote controlled face huggers with that. Like I will keep saying, that face hugger stuff is what the film. It's just a shame though that the trailers that we saw for the film was basically all from the beginning of the movie. Basically, at least that's the way I noticed it from watching. The other thing I do like is Weyland Yutani. We got to see how evil Weyland Yutani is, which actually, Ken, you haven't even chimed in on that part yet, but I'll ask you about that in a minute. But excuse me. We got to see how evil Weyland Yutani really is too. Again, like more in depth of their company. And we kind of saw that again with Alien Covenant, I believe, with David and his quote master or Mr. Wayland. I will say that we definitely need the face huggers to have their moment more, for sure. And because this proved that the face huggers can be just as scary as in a xenomorph. It's not even more scarier. I will say that the hive aspect wasn't bad. It did kind of remind me of like Alien Isolation, the video game, a little bit, just minus the eggs. But everything else about it was interesting because it almost felt like we only saw one xenomorph until the part where was it Tyward that showed Rain how to use the pulse rifle? Because if that's the case, that's another question that I want to know is, so how did he know how to work a pulse rifle because of the colonial marine aspect? He kind of said a magazine or some shit, but that I can't believe that. Other than that, we need to stop doing the ending that we always get with the airlock or some sort of fucking loading dock thing where the alien gets sucked out into space that way. We need some sort of better ending. The Offspring wasn't really necessary in my own opinion. It was cool. It did, I guess, answer something about the black goo, like how it can do something with DNA, like it can transmute to different life forms again, I guess. Whatever, I'm just go with that. But other than that, I mean, I looked at Alien Romulus as basically a slasher film. where Bourne got what he deserved. He was bullying Andy. He got what he deserved. Even with that weird pregnancy thing that going on there with Kay. Navarro, I guess, well, she just had to just turn around to get face tugged, I guess. I don't know how to answer that anymore. But yeah, I mean, and all in all, I would change my score to an 8 now because it's a fun film and it's definitely a hell of a lot better than Prometheus and Alien Company.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot too. I thought it was really good. The things I would have to say that I would have done better is, like you said, Rourke. The face just wasn't matching what they were trying to do. Another thing that I wish was different was, we're for the past few aliens we've been seeing spaceship. They're in a spaceship. They're fighting for their life. They throw the alien right out the airlock. Like, all right, we've seen this before. What kind of other endings can we get to where it makes it more interesting? Like, can this thing breathe in Earth or like in space? And like, is it just floating? And does it land on a different planet and cause more issues? Like, is there other links to other alien movies that they could put into this? Probably, and make it a little bit better. But the timeline thing, that's another confusing thing. It makes no sense, especially the black goo part when it was never mentioned in the first one. But like I said earlier, that in the first one, they might not excluded that, but also this other Rourke doppelganger that we see in Romulus could have more information about that mission that they didn't originally know. There's certain directions that's going into, and it's getting confusing. Bring it into one center point and focus on that center point.
Ken, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to elaborate on the overall story, and Tristan pretty much tackled that issue. The black goo is kind of loose ended the storyline there. Also, hey, I can't knock it. The practical flex was good. The scenery was good. Everything was good. Uh, to also tie in with the environment. Okay, what else can we put these alien creatures on? I mean, the only other thing that would enhance fear is an enclosed environment, isolation, and the only other place would be a bunker, like Resident Evil did in the video game, or a spaceship where there's no room for escape. If you have a large expanse, as in Aliens, it subtracts the horror aspect and makes the alien film more action oriented, which is good. It worked for Aliens, but how far can you push it without it being just another survival horror type of film? Aside from that, yeah, this film is great. As I said, it was one of the films that made my palms sweat. Very rare that happens. But there was some loose ends on the characters. Nothing major. Aside from that, yeah, I can't wait. If Freddy Alvarez creates another continuation to the storyline, I'm eager to see that film and to see how the storyline progresses.
Real quick, Ken. So, what is your thoughts on the whole beginning of the film with the Weyland Yutani, where we saw Rain have enough hours to get out of it, but then the bitch basically was just like, "Oh, we jacked up the hours required."
Oh, that was a clever play on neo-Marxism, socialism type of government. If we see these countries how they operate with their dissonance, this is a similar way. It was a clever play. I saw it, and with our current political landscape, that was like a little ploy, a little attack on how things could be in the United States if we let certain governments take over here. So I found it amusing that they use that and inject that into the storyline. It was a very clever political play.
All right, Tessa, what are your final thoughts?
It's definitely worth a watch. I would definitely recommend that you all go out and watch it. You will appreciate a lot of the practical effects and work that went into this film. I was very, very happy with the use of practical effects and the face huggers and just everything. And I'm with Ken on this one. My palms were sweating at certain points. I'm like thinking to myself while I'm seeing all this madness going on, I'm like, oh shit, if it were me, I would be booking as fast as humanly possible. Run like your life depends on it, because it does. It's insane, and I think you all will appreciate it. So definitely go out and give it a watch. I'm gonna bump my rating up as well to an 8.5, just for the practical effects and the face huggers. Gotta give them some love. I don't want any of their love though.
No free hug, huh?
Nope. I don't want it. Tristin might want it though. Give him to Tristin.
I am very lonely.
Oh, seeing how Fede Alvarez used the original designers on this, did anyone like catch these sexual innuendos used in the creation of these creatures, especially on the xenomorph? Like when he came out of that cocoon, he did have a phallic shaped head.
Yes.
Yeah. That little
Yeah, and
curvature.
that's kind of also why I was making the comment about the face huggers earlier when Paul was trying to like say, is that its tongue or something? And I'm like, no,
That's his tongue.
no,
No.
it was its phallic member going
Yeah.
down that person's throat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was trying to make it polite, okay?
There's no way to make
no way
the
to
alien
make it
universe polite.
Well,
There's
we can
no
thank
way.
H.R. Geiger for that.
H.
bullshit.
Yeah. H.R. Geiger. He's a
Yes.
demented man. A very creative, demented man.
That's right. Makes me wonder if he would have been, as he would have approved Romulus.
He was a very demented genius.
Goddamn right he was. Demented genius. Goddamn right he was.
So, bravo, sir.
Yeah. Federer
Creating
a
a universe that makes our palms sweaty.
That's right.
Very rare. Hey, we all have to agree it's very rare that happens with horror films.
Yes. Yeah. Especially lately.
Yeah. But on that note, we got Alien Earth coming out next year. It has been confirmed for Hulu, and now it has been confirmed for Disney Plus. So that's good, I guess.
Well, hope they don't make this series woke. They've been destroying Star Wars, but that's a different topic right there.
Yeah, maybe we can touch on Star Wars with on other time, but I haven't been in the loop of Star Wars because I just don't give a shit anymore. But yes, I have been hearing about people not liking the Star Wars review, which I think somebody was trying to compare. I think it was Alien Romulus. We're trying to say this was like Star Wars Rogue One. I think is what I've heard. Which I don't know what those people have been smoking, drinking, whatever. But I didn't feel that. I did not feel that. I felt like this is almost a good step for the Alien franchise, just like Prey was for the Predator franchise. Is what I'll say. All right. Well, on that note, does anybody else have any final thoughts before we close this out? Nope. Okay. Well, then, like Tessa said, go see this. And too bad you are missed out on the popcorn bucket for Alien Romulus. But Tessa and I did get some nice little cups, I guess, collectible cups. And
Yeah, let me show you guys. Hang on.
Oh yeah, she's gonna rub it in. Go right ahead. Yeah, why not?
well, I mean, people won't be able to see it, but that's all right. I mean, we can show you guys, I guess. Yeah. So these cups, real quick, to Tristan and Ken, these things were at the time $15 for this damn cup. Regal actually had them on their store at one
Look at
point, and they
that.
were selling them
Wow.
for $10 plus shipping.
Wow. They
And
don't have
somebody and somebody pointed out, and I didn't actually see this until I really studied it more, but that xenomorph right there that Tessa's showing us right now, which unfortunately the audio people cannot, but if you looked at this xenomorph cup that they did for Alien Romulus, he's actually in the same position as the alien warrior that
Oh wow, look at that.
that was into a figure. But yeah, the same position. But yeah. So Tessa got the xenomorph, I got the face hugger because why the hell not?
Yeah, and watching Paul drink out of this cup with this thing like right in his face was great. It's great stuff.
Love it. Probably would not ever spend $15 again, but the cup would have to be nice, I guess. And the movie has to be like up my alley. But then again, we got another topic to discuss pretty soon. Especially since Beetlejuice dropped today on the day that we're recording Alien Romulus 2. But anyway, so I guess thank you guys for listening. I don't know how often we'll be back, but Tristan reached out to me about doing the podcast thing, and I've kind of wanted to talk about Alien Romulus. We all watched the movie, so I figured if we all can just pick a day and a time and do this and talk just like the grand old time, then maybe we can all have fun with it again. On that note, my name was Paul Dolsky. I was joined by Tristan Knott, Tessa Babbitt or Baker. I'm just going to say Tessa Baker, and I'm just going to edit this whole fucking thing out again. So, yes, I was joined by me, Paul Dolsky, Tristan Knott, Tessa Baker, and Ken Artuz. So, thank you all for joining. And remember, in space, nobody can hear you.
Fart.